Now you're fighting with heart, Guardian. Yes! 3 down!
5 minutes remaining.
Double down. You're dominating the field. Don't let up. 3 opponents down. Look at them fall. Outstanding.
Ladies and gents, my name is Xander, aka Deislayers, and in this video, we are going to discuss everything that you guys need to know on how to use shotguns. Ever since Year 2 has come around and Bungie introduced their new weapon system, long gone are the days where primary weapon engagements thrived and an era of shotgun trickery has arrived. As much as I hate to say it, shotgun mastery is a necessary evil if you guys want to be able to truly outmaneuver Guardians in the competitive playlist, reach legend, and attain the ultimate glory. However, let me be very clear. There is a colossal difference when using a shotgun strategically and running around like a chicken with their head chopped off. You certainly don't want to be that decapitated Guardian, and it's because of people like M87, Aaron, Serial Killer, Rowdy, Miss Legend, Shavar, and so many more that we are discussing this vital skill set. To be more precise, we are going to be analyzing topics like judging radar depth perception, decision-making processes, advanced shotgunning techniques with specific step-by-step breakdown examples demonstrating each, and of course, perks, so that you guys know exactly what to look for becoming a stealthy ninja, just like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The only thing left to do is to eviscerate that notification button, and let's jump right into the video. The very first thing that I want you all to grasp, Deislayers, is that in order to use shotguns appropriately, you don't use shotguns at all. Whatcha? If that isn't some Mr. Miyagi Karate Kid wax on wax off shenanigans for you, I don't know what is. But as with any good teaching, there is always some solid logic and reasoning behind the madness, so let me explain exactly what that is. In this tip, you have probably already noticed that I am using a double primary combination, and I want you to do the exact same thing initially using something like, say, a hand cannon sidearm pulse rifle, or pulse rifle SMG, because these types of weapon setups teach you one of several skill sets to utilizing shotguns effectively. By using a double primary combination, it teaches you map awareness, which pertains to knowing one of several things. The first one is to knowing every single nook and cranny like the back of your hand so that you can maneuver around the map without actually having to know where you're going. In association with this, it also pertains to understanding where your teammates are at, because where they are at, the enemy is most likely not. Even processing your radar's information 24/7, giving you more knowledge as to where the enemy is at, is thus going to help you predict where they're going to attack next from, and all these things combined make up map awareness. Furthermore, wielding a primary weapon combo forces you to think how to outmaneuver other shotgun users, because you know for a fact that the vast majority of other players are using shotguns. In turn, this causes you to fully comprehend a shotgun's strengths, its weaknesses, and above all else, its effective ranges. Of course, not all shotguns have the same effective ranges due to the perk variations that they can come with, but by consistently going up against shotguns with a sidearm or an SMG, you get a phenomenal sense of how to engage, how to disengage, where they can one-shot you from, and where you can take partial damage still winning that gunfight. Lastly, when you use something like, say, a Duke MK44 hand cannon and a Last Stand sidearm, it teaches you radar depth perception, and in short, this is the ability to judge how far away a Guardian is from your current position based upon when the enemy first appeared via your radar. Of all the skill sets that a double primary combo demonstrates to you, this one, aka radar depth perception, is by far the most vital asset, because you are not always going to be able to have a direct line of sight on some shoulder charging titan or some shotgun aping hooligan, but rather you will have to rely on radar, and more specifically, the radar's brightness indicating as to how far or how close an enemy is in proximity to you. Judging this brightness is absolutely essential for you to master, as it indicates when the most advantageous opportunity is for you to strike. By encompassing a double primary loadout, you will learn map awareness, shotgun strengths, weaknesses, and ranges, followed by radar depth perception, ensuring that you now have a firm foundation for a strategic shotgunning success. And now that you have a nice little serving of some reverse psychology for you, the second thing that we must discuss is actually using a shotgun in association with a primary weapon, and specifically anticipation without hesitation, aka the decision-making process. Far too often, I see way too many chumps caught with their pants down, looking like they want to hide their kids and hide their wife because everyone is panicking up in here. My friends, this is neither the mentality nor the template to success, because when you panic, that is when you are indecisive. When you are indecisive, you don't know whether to use your shotgun or your hand cannon. In the time that it takes you to finally make a choice on how to engage, you have already wasted precious and very valuable time and are now forced to react to the enemy's movement instead of being a Jedi Master using the Force and causing the reaction to your enemy and the environment in which you both will engage. When using a shotgun, it is up to you to be able to control that environment and know ahead of time as to whether to use your primary, since you know both weapon strengths and weaknesses the best that you possibly can. In other words, it comes down to simply one statement, and that is anticipation without hesitation. I'll say it again, my friends, anticipation without hesitation. That one statement alone will help you in your decision-making process, and I'll admit, there are always going to be gunfights where you can't predict everything that is going to happen, but when you try to recognize how an engagement will happen beforehand, you are much more inclined to execute your plan as you intended. Remember, a bad decision is always better than hesitation, because with bad decisions, you still have the potential for victory, but with hesitation, nothing lies ahead other than defeat. Grasping this concept and applying this state of mind, we are about to analyze a ton of fantastic and very Gucci shotgunning techniques like arrow to ground elevation, breaking line of sight, directional change, baiting, and we're going to do that right now. The first shotgunning technique that I want to discuss is arrow to ground elevation or ground to aerial elevation, and essentially it's jumping into a slide or sliding into a jump, attacking with your shotgun from different heights that enemy guardians aren't expecting. What this technique does is it makes you a harder target to hit in one of several ways. If sliding, your guardian center of mass is smaller and lower to the ground, making your effective hitbox minimize significantly. If jumping, your guardian center of mass is not nearly quite as small as sliding, but jumping raises your character's center of mass to an elevation that has a higher chance to miss more shotgun pellets. However, the beauty of this maneuver lies when you couple both sliding and jumping together, as not only are you going to make your guardian's effective hitbox expand and contract to both extremes, but you are also covering a vast horizontal distance, closing the gap between yourself and the enemy very quickly. Before they even know what hit them, not only will you have a high chance of coming out of that engagement unscathed, but the opposing guardian will be sent to the afterlife, making them a little bit salty. Following this tactic, the very next shotgunning technique that I want to mention are directional change to breaking line of sight, along with breaking line of sight to baiting and the symbiotic relationship associated with each. Let me start by describing directional change, and it's actually quite pretty simple to get, because all you're trying to do is traverse a horizontal distance in anything but a straight line. It's not going to matter one teeny tiny little bit if you happen to be traveling a strafe-like maneuver or a zigzag one, as either causes your movement to be sporadic and gives you variation as to how much one strafe might be in comparison to the next, giving you more unpredictable movement. Solely by itself, this technique is superb for traveling mid to short distances, and when you combine it with the arrow to ground elevation technique that I mentioned from earlier, it's only going to get better. But where the magic really lies is when you mix directional change with breaking line of sight. But what exactly is considered breaking line of sight? That, Deislayers, is a spectacular question, and it's when your guardian's body, including your character's shadow, is no longer visible to your opponent in any way, shape, or form. So then you may re-engage that foe at a different angle of attack or angle of elevation. The whole point of this maneuver is to make your opponent guess where or if you will attack next, all while predicting exactly where they are going to be. When you combine breaking line of sight with directional change, your evasive maneuvering is going to skyrocket and cause your shotgun's versatility to reach new heights, especially when you are doing both from a corridor to a hallway or other such intersections. But keep in mind that if your guardian's shadow is still visible while trying to break line of sight, then the entire tactic or combo of tactics is null and void. With that, The only other shotgunning technique that I want to explain is called baiting. And in essence, what you are trying to do is give the perception that you are weak by taking on damage intentionally, feinting in one direction as if to run away, but then counterattack by doing a complete 180-degree spin, shotgunning your foe into oblivion, saying adios, bye-bye. The reason that I saved this particular shotgunning technique for last is because it actually is a combination of all the other previously mentioned tactics that can be simply interchanged depending on the environment, scenario, or situation that you find yourself in. Now I know that probably all you are saying to yourself, well Xander, this is all great information to know, but how the heck am I going to be able to know what you are talking about without any specific examples? To you, my friends, I say your wish has been granted, because you are about to see 3 specific shotgunning examples applying all these techniques and a step-by-step breakdown analysis this very instant. Right off the bat, here we are on Vostok, and I head directly into the caves as the match starts. Initially, I see 2 red blips on my radar, so I immediately jump into the air, applying aerial elevation with an angle of attack my foe may not be expecting, while anticipating them to be on the ground. As I aim down sights, sure enough, there is an unsuspecting warlock who gets down in a split second, but now I see a titan in the air to my left, and it's something that I didn't foresee. Thus, I analyze the situation and decide to slide, minimizing my hitbox, while simultaneously doing a 180 spin, baiting them to believe that I slid away. In this still image, you can clearly tell from my opponent's position that he isn't expecting the maneuver and is forced to react instead of causing the reaction. All that's left to do is to simply ADS and poof, just like that, the 1v2 engagement is over and I come out entirely unscathed. As I rewind and play this entire scenario over for you in regular and slow motion speeds, what I want you guys to take away from this is that I apply both aerial elevation and baiting shotgunning techniques, all while having anticipation without hesitation mindset. I tried to predict where the first warlock was going to be, and right in doing so, but that second titan in the air 110% caught me off guard. However, I didn't panic, and I decided on the best course of action that I possibly could, giving me the most advantageous outcome, and that is precisely what happened. The next shotgunning environment that I want to show you takes place on Solitude by the caverns. As I approach the caverns, I ADS and realize that at this time, my cross-haired foe is way too far away for my shotgun to reach him, so I decide to disengage by turning around and completely breaking line of sight. I know for a fact that the enemy guardian is chasing me, and so I try to bait him into a close confined space where I have the advantage. Anticipating the upcoming situation, I once again do yet another 180-degree spin maneuver, but this time around I immediately apply aerial elevation before my opponent regains line of sight. You can tell that my enemy isn't suspecting me to have verticality, so at the apex of my trajectory, I ADS and boom goes the dynamite, my friends. As I rewind and play this entire scenario over for you in regular and slow motion speeds, what I want you all to take away from this is that I initially realized that I was at a shotgun range disadvantage, but I had the caverns' environmental advantage on my side due to their close confined quarters. Instead of trying to meet each other on terrain that could have gone 50-50 either way for an outcome, I didn't want to take that chance, so I applied breaking line of sight in conjunction with baiting and aerial elevation shotgunning techniques, producing the anticipated and desired result that you all just witnessed. Lastly, I want to show you one final shotgunning engagement, and it just so happens to reside on Wormhaven. As I approach the right-hand side of the B capture point, I inspect my radar and notice that I have 2 blips on my radar, one to my front right and the other to my rear flank. Once again, there is no time for hesitation, so I decide to focus on the front right guardian who is most likely going to come through the hallway. Anticipating that, I jump applying aerial elevation, and just as foreseen, my opponent has been eradicated. However, I see one more red blip on my radar, and am expecting this forthcoming guardian to be most likely coming from the near ramp. To close the gap, make my character's hitbox smaller, and become more unpredictable, I apply the ground to aerial elevation combination. Right here, timing is everything, and you can clearly see that my foe is not expecting an aerial angle of attack. As in the previous example, I ADS at the apex of my character's trajectory, fire my shotgun's pellets, ensuring that the Guardian has been emancipated from their ghost. Unfortunately, the engagement isn't over, as now I see one last Guardian who has completely caught me off guard and is looking right at me. Thus, I change directions almost instantly via my Hunter's Dodge mechanic. Slide closer, closing the gap, ADS, fire the shotgun pellets, but alas, I get taken down in the process. As I rewind and play this entire scenario over for you in regular and slow motion speeds, what I want you all to take away from this is that I applied number 1, aerial elevation, followed by number 2, ground to aerial elevation combination, and number 3, changing directions, shotgunning techniques to close the gap, make my character's hitbox harder to hit or predict, all while trying to be as evasive as possible. As you all just saw, I anticipated the whole engagement as best as I could, but there are some things that I simply can't predict, and even so, I never hesitated for a split second. Decisions were made on the spot, and I trusted the maneuvers as well as the shotgun pellet spread to do its job. This actually brings me to my next point, and that is that to every single one of you shotgun monstrosities out there, I want you to know that shotgun pellet spread is all based on RNG, meaning that it's not going to be 100% consistent all the time. In addition to my last opponent's excellent dodging skills, I actually thought I was going to win that last engagement, but particularly I lost due to the fact that only 5 of the 10 shotgun pellets connected, as you guys can clearly count from right there in this still image. I only mention this because the way in which you can somewhat control a shotgun pellet spread and to have it become more consistent is by the weapon's perks. What perks, you ask? It's funny that you should ask that, my friends, because as it stands right now, we're going to get into precisely this within the very next tip. Throughout all the game footage that you have witnessed thus far, I played not just in quickplay, but in competitive too, and the weapons that I trust the most in these environments/scenarios is the Chaperone, Dust Blues, and Mindbender's Ambition shotguns. Of course, the Chaperone is an exotic slug shotgun, so it doesn't have to worry about pellet spread, yet still adheres to all the shotgunning techniques that I just demonstrated from earlier. Understanding that, what does have a pellet spread is the Dust Blues shotgun along with that of the Mindbender's Ambition shotgun, and so for simplicity's sake, I'll be focusing on those two shotguns and inspecting all their perks with the intent to make pellet spread reduced, make this shotgun universal for a wider set of situations, as well as keeping in mind what the weapon needs for a high lethality. Starting this case study off, we have the Dust Blues, and as you guys can see from right there, here are all the weapons perks. In the first column, we only have full choke, but in the second, third, and fourth columns respectively, we have assault mag, accurized rounds, and light mag, ensued by slide shot and moving targets, followed by rampage, snapshot sights, and full auto. If you were to ask me, full choke is an absolute must-have on any PvP shotgun, and that's because this perk will condense pellet spread, making it more likely that a greater pellet number will actually hit their mark, and thus it's then going to increase the weapon's consistency, and that is precisely what you want. In the second column, accurized rounds is your best bet, as this will increase the weapon's base range stats the most, but if you happen to get assault mag or light mag, this will also suffice since both increase base range too. In the third column, you simply can't go wrong with slide shot or moving target, and the reason is because slide shot will not only reload the shotgun by 1 every time that you slide, but it also increases the weapon's effective range simultaneously. And yet if you happen to get moving target, that is also a superb perk because moving target is going to increase the weapon's aim assistance when you're aiming down sights. And this then in turn gives every single individual pellet a significantly greater chance to land, meaning more consistency. In the fourth column, when you get Rampage, it will increase the weapon's damage output on the second kill, and that will then relate to increased range. But if you happen to get Snapshot Sights instead, be sure to be on the lookout for that, as it's going to have the increased ADS time to be almost instant. While if you don't happen to get that perk, I would then suggest getting Full Auto, because that will then allow the weapon to 2-tap Guardians at a vast range fairly quick. Applying this exact same perk analysis to the Mindbender's Ambition, you can see all the weapons perks right there on screen. There is very little difference in that of the Dust Blues, so much to the point that the Mindbender's Ambition has the exact same recommended perks that I would suggest for that first and second column, while the third and fourth column differ just by a very little bit, and it only differs in the way in which we can get perk combinations, as well as with the fact that the mindbender's ambition can roll with quick draw in that fourth column, while the dusk blues has full auto instead. The key difference here is that quick draw on the mindbender's ambition will not only increase the weapon's draw time, but it also increases the ADS time as well. If you can get any of those perks on either of those two weapons, then you are certainly going to have a great PvP shotgun. But what transforms a good shotgun into a god roll is the perk synergy that all 4 perks might have. Just be mindful of what perks are going to give you a perfect symbiotic relationship with one another, and that god roll shoddy might just get you a nice, juicy, crispy, and oh so spicy 7th column. Having said all these things, I think that you now have a very solid foundation and a platform on how to use shotguns appropriately. After using a double primary combination, you will completely grasp all the ideas of how to beat a shotgun without actually using a shotgun. Understanding Mr. Miyagi's wax on, wax off principles and embodying an anticipation without hesitation mindset, I think that all of you Guardians are going to be applying some advanced shotgunning techniques, making a paved road, steamrolling through a ton of little muff cabbage munchkins. By all means, let me know if you found this type of video helpful down in the comment section below, and if you also happen to have any other tips or tricks on how to use shotguns, as you all know that I'm willing to learn just as much as you guys, and I can't wait to see exactly what you guys got to say. Lastly, be sure to watch the newest, check the latest, and share, comment, like on social media, because you are the greatest. That's pretty much all I've got for you as of right now, Deislayers, and so as always, GG TNT.